Welcome back to Motivational Moments. I am your host, Mason Masker. In today's episode, we are going to discuss how to live your life on mission in the midst of uncertainty and change. This is a topic that has been on my heart for several months, and I'm excited to share my thoughts with you today. What brought this topic onto my heart is the pandemic prompted me to revise my personal mission in life, and so my personal mission in life is now to equip, engage, and empower people by developing authentic connections and setting a positive example. And so, in today's episode, I'm going to start out by describing how to come up with your mission statement, why a mission statement is important, and then how living a life on mission helps when faced with uncertainty and change. So when you start thinking about what your mission in life is, oftentimes people can come up with their organization's mission, or they know that it's at least posted somewhere around their company, but most people don't realize that identifying your personal mission in life is a crucial aspect to the impactfulness of your life and leadership, and so that's why I think this is such an important topic to consider. So in terms of answering the question, what is your mission, the two primary questions that can come to my mind is what brings out your inner brilliance. And by your inner brilliance, I'm talking about what sets you apart from everyone else and what do you enjoy doing, as well as a combination of figuring out what your gifts, talents, skills, experiences, and strengths are, because those topics differentiate you from everyone else in the world, and it's also important to consider your unique lens, because that's going to impact not only what you bring to the table, but also how you go about your life and leadership. And there are assessments such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator and Strengths Quest. These tools can be helpful to a certain degree in determining what your mission is in terms of figuring out your gifts and strengths and talents, but it really comes down to your experience, and you're an expert on yourself, including your strengths and your weaknesses. And so going through intentional self-reflection is key to determining what your mission in life is. And so after thinking about what I just said, the next step is to think about who brings out your brilliance. And so whoever brings out your inner brilliance is most likely the people group that your leadership is meant to impact, or the people whom God is calling you to serve. And so under this heading, I would ask you to write down or think about what you're passionate about, and also what types of environments do you function best in, because those those help you to identify where you make the greatest impact, as well as the other part of this would be who are the people whom you come into contact with regularly, because they're the people that are going to be central to your sphere of influence. And also, I would encourage you, as you go through the process of determining what your mission is, to talk to people within your support systems to try to figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what you want to do with your life or what you're passionate about. And so when it comes to the construction of a mission statement, my advice is to keep it simple. Oftentimes within organizational missions, I think the temptation is to try to fit a complex organization into pages upon pages of what our mission is and what our vision is, but really, I think it's more powerful to identify a simple statement that says, this is what I'm created to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And rather than trying to come up with paragraphs upon paragraphs of what your mission is, it's more beneficial because you're able to recite it off the top of your head, and having the ability to recite it off the top of your head is vital in the midst of uncertainty and change, as well as just difficult times in general. I would say that your mission should be 1 to 2 sentences maximum. But I would encourage you to maybe, as you're determining what your mission in life is, it's okay to maybe rewind this podcast and think about think about some of the points I raised, and as you're thinking about that, I would encourage you to write down what your strengths are, write down what your weaknesses are, write down the places where you spend most of your time, and where you function best, or what supports you need in order to thrive, as well as thinking about how your gifts, talents, and skills play into that, and what makes you brilliant in a sense. And so the wonderful part about a mission is that it's relatively stable, in that once it's constructed, it doesn't change all that much. For example, I determined what my mission in life was in 2012, what my former mission was, and my former mission was to inspire and equip all people to be a shining light to the world by sharing my story. And that mission fit that period of time in my life, and it still fits to a certain degree what I do, but in terms of my personal mission, it required revision to what it is today. And so that just shows how my mission served me for several years, and the pandemic just prompted me to rethink my mission and where I wanted to place my emphasis and how I want to spend my time through developing authentic connections with people. And so, and there's not a cookie cutter method in determining what your mission in life is. It should be unique, just like we are all unique as individuals. And I think it can be tempting to mirror other people's mission statements, but in reality, that's okay. But it should be uniquely designed for you and based upon the different factors I mentioned. And so, in terms of why a mission statement is so important in the midst of uncertainty and change, is that it provides stability, and it also allows you to focus your impact on the areas that you want to emphasize. And so it also gives you the flexibility to adapt in times of change, or when your season of life changes, but oftentimes it remains stable for a long time. And I have found that my mission statement is helpful because it's like a filter through which I can determine what opportunities are essential or what opportunities can wait to be completed at a later time. And having a mission and knowing what your mission in life is at the personal level rather than the typical organizational level that we often think of mission statements leads to a high degree of effectiveness and thriving even in the midst of challenges, because you're able to remain focused on what your goals are and what God has created you to do. And it also gives you a reason to get up in the morning in times where it might not be so easy to get out of bed in the morning, or when you don't want to go to work, or you're just struggling. It can support you on your good days and your not so good days. So those are my thoughts related to what it means to live on mission in the midst of uncertainty. And I would encourage you to just take some time today or another day relatively recently to think, or relatively soon, to think about what it is that you've been created to do and how you are going to do it. And if you already have your own personal mission statement, I would encourage you to share that with me. You can email me at mason@masonmetzger.com. Also, if you have questions or suggestions for a future episode, you can also email me by emailing mason@masonmetzger.com. And I have a feeling for many of you, you may also be listening to this, and you may have questions about your own personal mission statement or reevaluating the effectiveness of your organizational mission. And if you find yourself in that spot, I would be more than happy to help and to walk alongside you or your team through this process of revising or thinking about what your mission is. and so feel free to reach out to me via email as well. You can also connect with me on social media, including Instagram at Motivational Mason, Twitter Mason_Metzger, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn and find the most recent updates on my website, masonmetzger.com. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and remember that you matter and you have the ability to make an impact.